Right then, after last week's video, some people hilariously called overly negative. It was literally just factual that no one's going to succeed at United unless there's some changes. Well, let's look at the changes. Here's 5 ways United can become a dynasty again. So in at number 1 then, and I think this is a universal truth for all bar the oil teams, and even to some degree the oil teams. There's probably only Real Madrid has been successful without doing this that I can think of. I can't think of a single other team that's been incredibly successful that's done this. And that's invest in youth. Manchester United are renowned for the Busby Babes, Fergie's fledglings. Manchester United have only been champions of Europe, best team in the world, when our starting 11 has been majorly homegrown. And don't tell me football's moved on, because it's not. You look at the Barcelona side, called the greatest club side of all time, homegrown. You look at the AC Milan team, prior to that Real Madrid team, the last team to retain the European Cup, incredibly homegrown. You look at every major successful football team that's won repeatedly, and there is a significant homegrown percentage within their ranks every single time. Manchester United in particular, because of our history and because of what we stand for, when we chase money signings is when we've faltered in our success. The likes of Varane and Ruud van Nistelrooy and throwing money around, even like the likes of Laurent Blanc, was when United fell off from our dominant positions. We are at our best when we have the core of the team homegrown. And United are unique in this. Nobody else has a record at the top flight comparable to United's. An academy graduate been in the first team squad for every single game since 1937. It's an incredible record. And young players that have been at the club for a long time, it feels like home for them. They've lived their entire career to wear the shirt in the first team at Old Trafford. You invariably get those youngsters playing out of their skin, even if it's not to the level of some of our bought players. You get a certain level of character from those players, especially in those early years, before you found that they're either not capable of continuing playing at this level, or they blossom and they become a player capable of playing at that level. There's a hunger and determination in those players. The way the transfer market has gone as well, when you're looking at the higher end value players, you're talking anyone that's wanted by several players, and anyone certainly in the Premier League, because of the riches in the Premier League, you're looking at £100 million for your ordinary players. Ordinary. So what do you do with that? You look to your youth. You invest that money, because £100 million spent on your academy is going to yield more than just one player that you can buy for £100 million, and for longer. We spoke last week about old men being blessed who plant trees they'll never sit in the shade of. Well, spending £100 million on your academy might feel like planting trees you're never going to see. You spend £100 million on your academy and then commit to having a first team that's geared up to bring those players through and make them a success, and you'll sit in that shade eventually. Number 2, change of ownership. I do not believe Manchester United are geared up to become a dynasty while the Glazers are in charge. There's no flowery, ambiguous language there. Manchester United are not set up to become a dynasty again while the Glazers are in charge. We won 3 in a row in a European Cup under the ownership of the Glazers, 2007 to 2009. I believe that was the ripple of work that had been done and seeds that had been sown prior to the Glazer ownership. I believe that the likes of Sir Alex Ferguson kept the plate spinning, And look how fast we fell from that position. In contrast to what's gone on with Sheikh Mansour at Manchester City, where he's pumped in somewhere in the region of 2 billion into Manchester City. He's turned them from being Wigan Athletic level size club. The Glazers have taken out 1.5 billion, divested Manchester United. So even though the club has been a commercial alleged success over recent years, we've actually underperformed in terms of what we were doing over the last 17 years versus what we were doing the preceding 5 or 10. What they've taken out in dividends, refinancing, debt repayments has absolutely destroyed the club. Even just if they hadn't have taken that out of the club, let alone put anything in, which they've not done a penny, they're literally the opposite of that, we would be in such a different place. A new ownership could be the refresh, the reset to ignite us. It could spark the change of fortunes. An owner that comes in with the ambition, who asks and demands Manchester United to be the name associated with the best in class, the name associated with winning, and not the name associated with, can you pay off this massive mortgage that I've put on the club? It's a cow on life support that they're trying to drain the last drop of milk out of. Not any ambition to have a prized bull. And unfortunately for the Glazers, you might get away with that in the NFL, where being the worst performing teams get you the next pick of the young superstars coming through, but it's not like that in football. And the threat of relegation or not competing at the top table and being in the Champions League is a significant threat to the existence and ability to compete of a football club. Now you've got the Newcastle owners that are going to come in and demand success alongside Manchester City, who are demanding success. There is other ways to do it. Leicester and Liverpool have shown that you can do it on a relative budget. But there's no desire for best in class. There is no desire for long-term considerable success. Only success they see is, can we keep it alive? And completely missing the point that if you were putting on the best football, the tourism benefits that you would get, the commercial deals that you would get, the value of your players would go through the roof because they would be winning players. It's actually terrible business to be run at a state where you're not successful. You can't look at American sports and try and correlate that to the extreme competitive nature of both the English Premier League and the Champions League. You can't be an also running that. You have to be able to be successful and at least try and compete. And we do neither. Number 3, you do need the right manager. Manager, figurehead, leader, someone that can turn a project around and be given the patience and resources needed to make that a success. We're going to appoint our 5th permanent manager in 9 years in the summer. In contrast, Liverpool have had Jurgen Klopp since 2015 and Guardiola's been at City since 2016, arguably pulling the strings prior to that arrival as well. Both of United's rivals knew the manager that they wanted. They went out and recruited them and recruited teams for them and put a structure in place to make sure that they were successful. United have gone from David Moyes, who is very much one thing, to Louis van Gaal, who is very much another, to Jose Mourinho, who's very much something else, to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who is a completely different flavour as well. We have lurched from side to side. We have not created a path through the woods. We are lost without a fucking map. If you keep going with direction, you will eventually land at the place that you set out to achieve. But Manchester United fucked off into the woods in 5th gear without a map. And then we stopped when we thought we were lost and we turned around and we went the other way. And all that happens is you make no progress towards your goal. The narrative that any manager would struggle under the current climate of football has got a lot of truth in it. But if anything, it makes the next managerial appointment extremely important. And that's not to say the previous ones were not important. It's important because if you do not get it right and do not back that person to do what you're asking them to do, they will never be successful. If you don't empower that person to be able to change what they believe is wrong at the football club, you will never be successful. There has to be a desire for success, long-term success. Short-termism isn't going to work because you have got teams willing to spend a lot more than you, that are a lot more agile, that are going to have a lot less politics at play if they decide they want to drop somebody. We can't compete on that front. So we need to compete on the long-term, sustainable, good plan route. And so far in the last decade, we've done nothing to address that. Number 4, a culture shift. I've said this phrase a few times, but Manchester United are like an Instagram model. We want all the appearance of success without looking to work for it. We're not prepared to put in the hard yards. They want to, then you know what the club are like. They loved it at weekend when Cristiano Ronaldo scored a hat-trick. They was like, sweet, now we get to go absolutely turbo on Cristiano Ronaldo news. And we can post loads of pictures and we can link the megastore to it. I know exactly what they was in. That's exactly what they're about. You post a picture of Cristiano Ronaldo with a Premier League or a Champions League. You watch how many shirts we fucking sell with Ronaldo on the back. You watch how many retweets that gets. You do some fucking thingy like he was here for free and he's just won the 4th. Little how it started, how it ended. You know the drill. With Ronaldo holding up another European Cup. You tell me that doesn't get engagement? Be a football club. Be about football first. Swap ego for character. Swap big names for big personalities. Less agents coming out trying to protect their client and more players performing like they care about the team. Everyone has to pull in the same way. Everyone behind the arrowhead in the same direction. No one deviating off the course. No one working for themselves. Everything has to push behind the arrow to push it forward. There has to be better handling of the contract situations. Where's the 5-year plan? We're probably going to do something on this because as we were talking today in the build-up to writing this, we were saying, where was we 5 years ago? What did we do 5 years ago? What was the plan 5 years ago? Oh, 5 years ago, we just won the Europa League. Right. Have we kicked on since then? No. Look at the starting 11 that played in that Europa League. What was the plan to upgrade, replace, or develop those players? Was there one? We're arguably in a worse position than we was then. We've got a couple of better players, but overall, are we a better squad? Is there more harmony? Are we closer to having a system of play? I don't think so. The culture shift has to be one of the biggest things that happens. Number 5, this one's absolutely critical. And it's so common sense that it probably feels radical to some people at United. Football people in football positions. Now, being a great footballer doesn't mean that you're automatically going to be a great football administrator. But working in Barclays doesn't mean you can make a fucking sausage roll neither. We need less accountants and more directors of football. We need fewer businessmen and more scouts. We need less PR people, more data people. Less brokers, more recruitment specialists. Invest in football. Make football the focus of the fucking football club. Be good at football. Barcelona had a role model. Before, I don't know how many of you know this, but Pep Guardiola at Barcelona was very much, and maybe even differently for reasons that have come out more recently, he was very much in the Ryan Giggs mould. Homegrown, he didn't play his entire career there, but played a massive part of his career there. Player that was absolutely adored at the new camp. Someone Johan Cruyff loved, put a lot of tactical stuff into the way he played the game. Pep was very much a Busquets-style player. Played at centre-half as well as in midfield. Made one of the slowest centre-half partnerships the world's ever seen with Koeman at the back. But it was successful. Until AC Milan smashed it, but that's by the by. The point is, Pep Guardiola was a role model. So when he took over Barcelona from being the Barcelona B coach, the likes of Fabregas, Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets, they didn't just know of who he was. They'd spent their entire careers being told to play like this guy. They grew up wanting to be Guardiola. So when he takes over the football club and he takes what essentially is Johan Cruyff's philosophy in a slightly different direction, potentially to a different level, players like Xavi, I think Xavi's even on record as saying, I was obsolete as a footballer until Guardiola came in. The game had become to go physical, and he brought it back in a different direction. But the point I'm making is that it was a footballing decision which put Guardiola in there. He'd been readied to take over, not just by having a small stint with the B team, but by Cruyff. And those players knew who he was for a decade before he was given the keys to that job. Now, I'm not saying United need to have a manager in mind in 10 years' time, but it'd be nice to think that we had that level of long-term planning. The point I'm trying to make is that Barcelona fell off when they started chasing the Neymar, the Suarez, the Dembele kind of dream. When the likes of Thiago coming through at Barcelona choose not to come through at Barcelona because they see a pathway blocked up when they're not getting their opportunities, something has gone wrong in the football club. And that's happening with Manchester United with the likes of Angel Gomez and other players choosing not to stay and come through at Manchester United. It's not quite the same level, Thiago and Angel, but the symptoms that we're giving off are the same. Business decisions, keeping hold of the likes of Jesse Lingard or Juan Mata, rather than give the likes of Angel Gomez a go, because the contracts that these guys are on are forcing the hierarchy's hand, is where you start to make the incorrect decisions. A football decision would have chosen Angel. Now, we might have got some things right and some things wrong in the way we've been doing this, but how much of the decision-making is football first? How much of the decision to extend the likes of Phil Jones and Ashley Young at the last time of asking was football decisions? Where was the 5-year planning in signing Alexis Sanchez? Where was the 5-year planning in signing Zlatan? Where was the 5-year plan in signing Cristiano Ronaldo? If Cristiano Ronaldo comes in, plays a certain style of football for 12 months, and then leaves, are you in a better or worse position? Now you have to bring in somebody else and get used to their style of playing. Short-termism is going to kill the football club. Long-termism is what's going to save it. When you have a long-term strategy, you don't lurch from one manager to the next. And here's the problem. Managers waste money on transfers. They want their style of play reflected on the football pitch. This is where a good director of football comes in. They only hire managers that are all building towards the same thing, or they deviate by 1 degree, not 180 degrees. Ralph Rangnick appoints someone in his, let's just for argument's sake, and I'm not advocating for this, but let's say he appoints Ralph Hasenhüttl, and then the next man that comes in is Tuchel, and then the next man that comes in is Nagelsmann. I'm not going to be happy at us cycling through all of these different managers, but the point I'm trying to make is those are 3 managers that might just be a 1-2 degree deviation from the same plan, rather than us going down this route and then someone like Pep in Pep's mould, and then an Arteta mould, and then someone completely different. That's what we've done, going from Moyes to Louis to Jose to Ole. We've literally hit the 4 corners of the football tactical sphere. It's about being lost in the woods again without a map. Get the map. Get the map, put down where you're trying to go, write it down, and only make decisions that take you closer to that. Shall we sign 37-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo? Does he get us closer to where we're trying to get? No. If the goal needs to be European champions 5 to 10 years' time, does he get us closer to that? No. It means we qualify this year. Okay, then it's a great opportunity, but thank you, good night. No. And now, maybe he's an anomaly. Maybe you had to sign him because him going to City would have just been too much for everybody involved. Maybe you had to do that one. But maybe you use Zlatan as a different example then. Or anybody over the other side of 30. Get the structure, stick to the plan, keep pushing. No matter how hard it gets, make the decisions based on football alone, not on finances or opportunities. I think you do that, you've got half a chance. Give us your 5 things that you would do to fix the club in the comments. See you in a bit. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, 5-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.